Okay, Noelle, I know it's hard to see me, but this one's for you. This is a visual of the black bean wontons that you liked so much that I made. So you can just go ahead and follow me. Might not see my face because I had to get the angle going here on the camera, but here we go. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take these scallions. You need 2 tablespoons. So we're going to just sort of cut off the ends. And then we're going to, what I'm going to do is just chop them up. Chop up the whites like this into small pieces. So that's about a little more than a tablespoon right there. So I'm going to add a little bit of the green in there. That's about right about there. So the better part of 2 scallions. And I got these scallions at Trader Joe's. Okay, so I'm going to add a little extra chop to them just to make them a little bit more not so crunchy inside the wonton. A little smaller and you won't taste it so much. Not that you're going to taste it that much because it's going to be so many other ingredients. So let me put this aside for a moment. So these are done. I'll put them over here. And I'm going to go ahead and take the black beans. Now, these black beans from Trader Joe's, okay? So you only need a cup of them. So what I do is I'll put the cup of beans measured out. Whatever's left, I put in a little snack Ziploc, put in the freezer. So if I want to make this again, I can. Just make it a little bit of a smaller portion. So I'll start by putting all of my beans in the bowl like this. Then I'm going to take a fork and I'm just going to mash them up with the tines of the fork. Now, the only thing about it, if you have like a mashed potato thing, you can use that too. But the one I have is just doesn't work that well. So I'm just going to use a fork. And I sort of push it against the side and get them to kind of loosen and smash up a little bit. Like this. So for the most part, these are getting a little creamier. You'll see when you smash them, they're kind of white inside or light brown or tannish. So you just want to get it so that most of them are smashed up. So that's what it looks like. Okay, so now after you've smashed them up, now I'm going to take the scallions that I cut up and I'm going to put them in with the black beans like this. And now I'm going to just stir them up together like that. Okay, so now we're going to start adding more ingredients to make it a little moist. And that would be starting with, this is ponzu. This is what you buy in an Oriental store. If you can't find the ponzu, they might have it at Publix. It's simply like a soy sauce type of dressing that's mixed with citrus. So you can use lime juice to make this instead of if you can't find the ponzu. So lime juice works just as well. So what you need is a half of a teaspoon of ponzu. So I'm going to just go ahead. Oops. This is my half teaspoon. Yes. Yes. Okay, so I'm just going to put a nice, generous half a teaspoon of ponzu in there. Okay. Next, we're going to add chili garlic paste. So this is the one that I use. You can find it in any store. It's like a sriracha with, it's called chili garlic sauce. And this works really well. So you need about a teaspoon. You don't want to put too much because this is kind of spicy. So a teaspoon is more than enough. Okay. And then we just sort of mix that in. Next, we're going to add a teaspoon of rice vinegar. So this is a rice vinegar you can get anywhere. Just look for it. Actually going to add a nice healthy teaspoon, so overflow a little, it's okay. It gives it more flavor that way. Then, last but most important, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and add the soy sauce. Make sure you get a full tablespoon, because that's really going to amp up the flavor. Okay, and then mix it up. And the last thing I add, because I tend not to eat that much meat, and it also has a nice little flavor, is some nutritional yeast, kind of a salty, cheesy flavor. It works. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of that. Let me rinse this off. This is a powder. I don't want to get powder stuck on my teaspoon, so it will. So that's going to look like this. About a teaspoon. Okay. So, and this is nutritional yeast from Trader Joe's. Okay, so now that we've done this, we're going to mix it all up. I'm still using the fork because I'm still kind of mashing it as I go to make it nice and pliable, so it will fit nicely on the wonton. Okay, so here's what it looks like now. Okay, so now we're going to get the wontons out of the refrigerator. The wonton wrappers. Sorry, I should have had this done ahead of time. There we go. Okay, wonton wrappers. And they look like this. These are vegan ones. Most of them are, because it's made out of, you know, plants. Flour kind of thing. Now, I always use my board because it makes it easier. So, I'm not sure how many I'm going to wield, and I don't know how hungry I am for lunch today. So, I'm just going to pull out a little stack of them. You want to kind of keep them. If you don't use all of them, you definitely want to put them aside so they don't, you know, put a paper towel, a damp paper towel over them so that they don't dry out. I'm going to start with 6, and then I'm going to start filling them. Okay, so I have my 6 on here. I know it's hard to see because of the contrast. Okay, now I'm going to take my peanut oil, and I'm just going to add a dollop, not too much. You don't need that much oil to make these. Okay, and I'm going to take a very low, like number 3, and start warming up the peanut oil. And watch out for these wontons. See, I just had a double there and I didn't even realize it. You also are going to need a little bit of water to dip your fingers in for the sealing, to seal it. So I'm going to take my tiny scoop, and I'm going to just place a little bit, and you believe me, you do not need a lot. You just need a little bit on each wonton wrapper right in the middle. Okay, you want to do it right in the middle. And I'm just pulling it out of here, and I'm putting it in the middle. And this is the tiniest little scoop I have. If you don't have a scoop, you can use a teaspoon, but I wouldn't go any bigger than that. Okay, so here's my first 6. So I'm going to take my fingers, start with this one right here, dip my finger in there, and I'm going to moisten around the square like that. Okay, then I'm going to fold it over, and we did this together, remember? Fold it over and press it down. Press, 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 press. And then you have one completed wonton. I'm just going to put it over here. And then I had an extra, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now on to the next one. Dip your fingers in, go all the way around the edges. I don't know if you could see this very well, but I wish I had a different kind of light here, but I don't. So anyway, all the way around the edges. Make sure your glop is in the middle so you can seal it up easily without having to worry about things leaking. Okay, all the way around. And wonton number 2. I'm trying to think about how hungry I am. I think 7 is going to be, maybe I'll have 8 for lunch, since there's not really that much to them, and they are very good for you, and they're kind of vegetarian and they're organic. Okay, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to take one more, so I have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to make 8 altogether, so I need a little bit more of my filling. Get to go right there. And then whatever's left over, just put in the refrigerator and save it for another day. It keeps for a while, and you can also freeze it, just like you froze the beans, and make it another time. Wonton wrappers last a long time in the refrigerator too. You don't have to worry about using them up right away. They'll stay a good month before they start to get moldy or whatever, but they're pretty good about lasting. Okay, so hoping you can see what I'm doing here. It's not too washed out. Okay, 3 more to go. They go pretty quick too once you get going. So dip, do the outside, fold it over, press the edges, and you can make them fancy looking and press the edges with a fork to make little marks, but I can't be bothered with that right now because I'm hungry. All right, so now I'm going to turn my heat up a little to 5 because I'm almost done, and I'm sure this is nice and hot with the peanut oil. The reason why I choose peanut oil a lot of the times is it's like olive oil. It's a plant oil. It's not a processed vegetable oil, and it's also high. It's good for high heating, so you don't have to worry about the oil burning. You can take a really high amount of heat. So that's why I prefer it. Especially that's why Oriental people use peanut oil for stir fry, because it doesn't burn. It gets the job done. Okay, so now we have all of these. I've got all 8 of my wontons here. This is going to be a good lunch. Okay, so now we're going to fry the wontons. All right, so let me get my tongs. Okay, so these are pretty easy to fry. I'm actually not even going to use the tongs till it's time to turn them over. So you want to just sort of brown them. They cook really fast. Now what I usually do is put the edges against the outside of the pot so that, the long edge. So sure your oil is distributed evenly here. Oops, get back there. So that you can fit a bunch. I can usually fit 8 in here because we've made enough room for it to go like this. And I got one more. Try to find sort of a triangle area. There we go. Okay. So now we're going to let these guys cook. So while I'm waiting for them to cook, I'm going to make a dipping sauce. So the dipping sauce is going to be a little bit of sesame oil. Okay, so sesame oil is really a potent and strong oil. Again, it's from the Oriental store. So I need a little thing to be my dipping sauce. So I'll use that. Now you just need 1 drop. I'm not even going to measure it. Oops, this one has not been opened yet. I got to find the different one. I guess I ran out of the other one. Will I be time? Nope, there it is. Sorry about that. Okay, so here is the same thing, only smaller. I'm just put a drop or 2. Hardly any at all you need. Then take a little of all the ingredients that you use. A little of the ponzu, a little of the rice vinegar, and some soy sauce. And then we're going to mix it up. I'm going to taste it. Tastes pretty good. It's a little strong. I'm going to add a drop of water because that sesame oil is really, really strong. So let me taste it again. It's better. It's a little bit more of the ponzu. Okay. Okay, my dipping sauce is ready. Now, whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, next I'm gonna get my bowl. I'm doing this in the kitchen, as you can see, so I can get a good view. Now, can you see that? These guys are right here. Move these guys out of the way. They are ready to turn. So we're getting them nice and brown. So I'm going to turn these guys around just like that. Now I hope you can see how brown they're getting. I'm going to figure out how to zoom in. Okay, most of these are just about done. Okay, so that didn't take long. It's sort of really get kind of brown. I'm gonna give them a little bit more. At this point, I just turn off the heat because this is a cast iron pan, and the cast iron pan really keeps the heat even after you turn the oven off, so, or the stove off. Okay, so they're going to be ready momentarily, and I have my nice dipping sauce. And I have some for another day, which is great because you get a lot in a package of wontons. It's good. So I think I'm ready. Let me just pull, look underneath. Yeah, everybody's ready. Okay, so now I'm just going to put them in my little bowl. Got my dipping sauce. Already turned off the oven. Everything's brown and nice, and I'm done. So I'm just gonna make a little space for my dipping sauce in the middle. There we go. And there we have it, wontons.